I'm interested in what Naughty Dog is going to do on PS5. Do you believe there is a chance of Jak 4? I mean, true Jak 4, not this one on PSP. I heard they were going to release on PS3 but gave up. Okay, so before I answer, I just want to clarify. The Lost Frontier, the PSP game, that was originally being worked on Naughty Dog, yeah, but it was originally a PSP game from the start, but it was being worked on at the same time as Uncharted 1, but because the PS3 was hard to work with, they scrapped the Jak project just to focus on Uncharted. But Sony still wanted a Jak game on PSP, so they outsourced it to High Impact Games. So yeah. Now, if there was a Jak 4, I doubt anyone would take Lost Frontier into consideration, considering it didn't do well with fans or critics very much, and it was by another developer and everything like that. So I don't think, if we were to get a Jak sequel, I don't think they would like consider Lost Frontier canon, or like just wouldn't reference it or anything like that. But yeah. Now, yes, I am very interested in what Naughty Dog is going to do on PS5. I think that here's my theory as what they're going to do for PS5. Naughty Dog specifically. I think they're going to start with a new IP. Don't know what it is. I honestly think they'll start with a new IP, and then probably somewhere down the line, probably Last of Us 3. I don't know what they'll do with Last of Us 3. Maybe a game based on Abby or Leg or whatever. But that's what I think Naughty Dog is going to do. I don't think Jak 4 is going to be likely, at least from Naughty Dog. I honestly think if Jak is going to make a comeback in any sense, well, I think it should be a remake. Realistically, I don't know if it will be a remake. But yeah, that's just my opinion with Naughty Dog. But if we do get anything new from Jak and Daxter, I doubt it'll be from Naughty Dog. It'll probably be from another studio. Maybe Remake for Jak would be a better option. Bluepoint Studio could do a remake. Heard that Naughty Dog wanted to do a Jak on PS3, but they had a vision. Yeah, so Naughty Dog were going to do a Jak 4 on PS3, but they didn't like how it was going, so they went with The Last of Us instead, because that's the story they wanted to tell more. Bluepoint Games could for sure do like a really faithful, full-on like one-to-one remake of the Jak series, but honestly, if they're going to remake the Jak series, I think it needs to take a more creative approach and take some liberties with the source material, because especially this game, Jak 3, lots and lots of issues, not only from the gameplay department but also the story department. Like, yeah, I think if we're going to remake the Jak trilogy, what we should do is like remake Jak 1 pretty faithfully, but like add more stuff, just more content. Because Jak 1 is like terrific, but it's just too short, you know? But like, as a full package, it's like pretty consistent, you know, in terms of quality. It's solid as fuck, but it's just too short. Jak 2 could use some tweaks, like with the open world design and stuff like that. Gameplay wise, I think it's fine for the most part, except, you know, that the open world sort of stuff. Jak 3 suffers a lot. Gameplay is completely unbalanced and piss easy, and story is just very messy. But like Jak 3 was like super rushed, and it really feels like it was more of like you know, oh, this Sony needs another Jak game, so let's just pump out another one, you know, instead of like, this is a story and an experience we want to share with everyone. Like Jak 2 clearly was. Jak 2 might need an easy mode option and they'll need more cosmetic stuff. Yeah, totally. Honestly, I'm on a fucking hard mode for Jak 2, because Jak 2 is piss easy. You're all just pussies. Especially the one sitting behind me. She didn't hear me.
Hey!
Love you.
Me too. I don't want to watch a silly stream anymore.
Oh, you're watching it right now. Are you?
Hmm?
Are you watching it right now?
Yeah, I've just got it on in the background.
Okay.
I'm looking at JJ's.
I thought like you just didn't hear me because you were listening to someone or something.
No, I'm listening to you, but I just.
Anyway, what
Take that back.
Okay.
I'll get there.
Yeah, I know you will. I believe in you. But seriously, I want a hard mode for Jak 2, like a.
I want a baby mode for it.
You know, I think we can appeal to everyone in that market in a remake. Baby mode and a hard mode. I want an ultra nightmare mode for Jak 2. Hell yeah! Like that's actually a stream idea I have. I want to play through Jak 2. If I die once, reset the game. I'm gonna fucking do it. I had no chat. And yes, cosmetic stuff for Jak 2, totally. Jak 1 with the infinite eco cheats. That'd be cool. Yeah, just more small things that like Jak 2 and 3 added, like cheats and cosmetics and stuff. Like Jak 2 and 3 don't have cosmetics. Well, they do a little bit with like big head mode and goatee and all that stuff. But yeah, Jak 1 just needs like more cool stuff and just added. Because as it is, Jak 1 is like pretty much perfect. Oh, this is a bit dark. If you die, what will happen to your collection? Ooh. Fuck. Okay, so if I just got exploded right now, I don't know. I wouldn't really have anyone to give it to because no one I know is really into the series. I mean, I'd like to, because like my whole thing about collecting for this series is documentation preservation. So if there's like a good, like, I don't know, museum or something out there or something, I'd donate it to that, or maybe or something like that. I don't know. That's a good question because I have some fucking really rare stuff in my collection, like a Jak 2 skateboard, like, yeah, stuff like that. But if the answer you were looking for was donate it to anyone who would subscribe to my channel, I'm sorry to disappoint. Oh jeez, I have the anxiety of people just throwing away my precious stuff or selling it for very cheap. Haha, if I die, I mean. Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, like, the people in my life know how, like, valuable the stuff I own is, so, like, I know that wouldn't happen.
Could get a lot for it.
Yeah, exactly. They'd sell it for a lot. Thanks. Alright, here we go. That's a relief. I mean, I suppose. Someone will get rich off my death. The biggest issue with this game is how little of the threat the Dark Makers are. Until the end, that is. So I think it's a bit more complex than that. So, like, for sure, the Dark Makers weren't nearly as big a threat. Like, they didn't like put enough emphasis on the Dark Makers. For sure. But fuck, where was I going with this? Like, I think it's more so like the Dark Makers, it's not that they weren't much of a threat until the end, it's that they weren't very developed at all. Like, all we know about them is they were once precursors and now they're out to destroy all the worlds. But like, if you think about it, it's not too dissimilar to what the Metalheads are. Like, the only real difference is that the Metalheads weren't precursors at some stage. You know what I mean? Like let's think of like the motives of the Dark Makers and the motives of the Metalheads. They both are races sworn to destroy the precursors. They both just roam the universe, destroying worlds. They're both in Jak 3. Yeah, it's just the Dark Makers weren't developed enough, and for sure I don't think there was enough foreshadowing in the start and middle of the game. Because like at the start of the game, it was like scene was like, you know, oh, there's some dark shit coming, but that was about it. There wasn't really much else to build up towards it until like, oh, what the fuck are these new enemies during the Errol boss fight, you know? But I don't really think it's the biggest problem with Jak 3. I don't know if there's one biggest problem in terms of story, at least. It all just kind of adds up. Whereas with gameplay, it's totally just up down to the unbalanced and piss easy gunplay, you know. Like they shouldn't have just. The biggest problem with Jak 3's gameplay is they just kept adding stuff and didn't like take into consideration whether like it actually really added anything to the game. They just kept like more guns, let's make this a Ratchet and Clank fucking competitor, you know, instead of making it its own thing. Because that's the thing, like Ratchet and Jak were always compared, and like everyone was like, oh, Ratchet's so much better because like they've got so many more guns and stuff, but like the guns didn't really add depth, you know, you just kind of used whatever. And again, when it comes to the fucking gunplay and gameplay in this, like, there's no strategy to this fight. It's just they dodge the fucking fireballs and there's a bunch of dudes coming to attack you, so kill them all. Like, it doesn't matter what gun you use. I can just use fucking the scatter gun and that's it. And it won't make a difference. You know? I think the biggest problem is lack of platforming levels and excess of minigames. Totally. That's another big problem. Because, like, so Jak 3 could never be my favorite game in the series simply because, like, for me, missed potential is, like, the biggest downfall of a game for me. Like, if a game is just straight up bad, it's just straight up bad. But, like, if it had potential and it didn't capitalize on it, then it just makes me so fucking sad. Like, really, really sad. And Jak 3 is that for me, just so much wasted potential. Not wasted, but missed potential. Because they could have taken Jak 2's tight gunplay and balanced it a bit more, so like the fucking jump, spin, shoot attack wasn't, you know, fucking super reliable. They could have expanded the depth of the gunplay and just added so much to the experience. And seriously, like a lot of Jak 3's like linear platforming classic stages are like some of the best. Like the volcano level is great. I would be fine with basic gameplay if the platforming was harder and more frequent. Totally, yeah, totally. That's one issue. But like if there was more of the platforming and gunplay and stuff, yes, the game would be made better. But it still wouldn't address the problem that the core gameplay is deeply flawed. Like, Jak 3 would be a better game if there was less one-off minigames, for sure. But if there was less one-off minigame, if there was the same amount of one-off minigames, but the core gameplay was solid, like, it would be frustrating as hell because, like, that awesome core gameplay wouldn't be allowed to shine. But, like, what we've got now is even more disappointing because, like, it could have been great, but it isn't, and there's a lot of one-off minigames. So, like, you know, got the worst of both worlds in our reality. Oh, that's a great idea. One thing to make the wave concussor better would be defensive. It protects you from bullets. That would be sick. Like, maybe, like, you could pull out the wave concussor, fire off a shot, so it's like a shield for maybe, like, 5 or 10 seconds, pull out another gun to like get through. So let's say like a KG robot has like a constant like barrier around it, like a really big barrier that would like shock you if you touched it. And to get through it, you pull out the wave concussor, cloak yourself in like a shield of red eco or whatever, and then get through that barrier and just fucking go up to him with a fucking peacemaker or blaster or something and just shred him, you know? That would be sick. And that's just a fucking 10-second thought. I like some minigames like the Leaper Race, but there's only one of those. I mean, at least an optional one would be cool. Yeah, that's the problem with Jak 3's minigames. Some of them are genuinely fun. The Leaper mini race is fun. The rocket, Daxter controlling the rocket is fun. Stuff like that, like, yeah, some of it's actually genuinely fun, but like, yeah, there's only 1 or 2 missions in the game of that playstyle, and most of them just aren't fun. Like, who fucking... I don't want to be, like, rude or anything, but, like, who likes controlling the KG Deathbar? Because I fucking don't, you know? I mean, like, maybe in a different game, maybe. Each game's theme is different. Jak 1 Discovery, Jak 2 Rebellion and Jak 3. Excuse me, Jak 3 Corruption. If you want to know how I'd change Jak 3's story, that's all you need to know. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean like lean more into the corruption aspect of it? Because in terms of like, yeah, I would agree for the most part. Jak 1 is totally discovery. It's all just, you know, let loose into this massive open world and just fucking... Yeah, that's what I love about it so much. Jak 2 Rebellion, yeah, I can see that, how they were like... They were trying to like convey that through the story and stuff. I kind of think they didn't lean into it enough for what they were trying to do. Story-wise, at least. Jak 3's Corruption. You know what? I think if Jak 3 really leaned into Vega as the main villain, that would have been sick. Like, we didn't need Errol to come back, you know? Like, I really think if Vega was the main villain of Jak 3, that would be sick. Because, like, not only is he, like, conniving as fuck, he's not like a typical villain where it's just like, you know, he's evil. You know, he's a bit more complex. Like, he's a very smart dude, and he's doing what he's doing because he feels that he's doing the right thing, you know? But, like, he knows he's corrupt with power, you know? And he knows how to manipulate people to get what he wants. And I think if he was the one, like, contacting the Dark Makers, that would have been fucking cool. Then again, that kind of goes against what he was trying to do with the precursors. I don't know, but like, there's so much we could do with Jak 3's story. I think if like some of us who like really, really understood the Jak universe and the shortcomings of Jak 3 and really understood like how to write a good story sort of thing, came together and just like brainstormed ideas about specific topics, that'd be cool. But yeah, like, I think the biggest thing for me, like the biggest thing a game can get wrong for me is just missed potential. Because it just makes me sad. Like, I think about Jak 3 sometimes and just genuinely get so upset. And it's like, it's not what I want, you know? I want to love Jak 3, because like, it does have great ideas. Just doesn't execute as well as we need them to, you know? Some mini games like the Glider and the KG Deathbot are terrible, not bad, but meh. I actually really enjoy the Glider one. I think it's, especially the music, just makes it chill as fuck. Especially after a sick platforming level. But yeah, and it doesn't help that Jak 3 is just like so much shorter than Jak 2 as well. Like, the third act of Jak 3 is just like a third of what Jak 2's third act was, you know? So it just makes it really hard to like... Yeah, it's just hard, dude. And it sucks because like, it's such a like a sucky thing. That's the reason behind this game being sucky. It's just, it was rushed. They didn't have much time. And I think it's a bit different when it comes to Ratchet 3 as well. Because, like, I don't think Ratchet 3 is, you know, great either. Like, it's good, but, like, the thing is, like, it doesn't do a whole lot, like, different to Ratchet 2 sort of thing. Like, it kind of... Ratchet 3 feels like Ratchet 2.5 sort of thing, but, like, some of the quality is gone sort of thing. Whereas Jak 3... Because, like, I don't really know how you could have, like, advanced Ratchet 2's formula, aside from, like... I don't know, like, how could you adapt Ratchet 2's formula? I guess even Insomniac don't know how to do it, because they've been doing Ratchet 2 since Ratchet 2. Like, they're still doing Ratchet 2, you know? Like, they've made, like, small additions here and there, but... core gameplay has not changed since Ratchet 2. Whereas with the Jak series... like, Jak 1 to 2 is completely different in terms of gameplay and mechanics and stuff. But Jak 2 needed to be... like, sequels typically, like, you know, improve mechanics and further mechanics from the previous game. But Jak 2 didn't do that for Jak 1 because they're completely different genres. So when going from Jak 2 to 3, Jak 3 is the first, like, true sequel. Not true sequel, but, like, Jak 3 was like the first typical sequel in the series sort of thing, because it was going to be a sequel to Jak 2. But they didn't really do what a good sequel needs to do. It didn't further the gameplay and deepen what was already there, because like I could just talk about this for fucking hours, but I need a drink. Also, Jak 3, why do you have so many fucking turret missions, dude? I hate it. Like, in the third act, there's like 3 turret missions. There's only like maybe 10 missions in the third act. I kind of want a sequel to Jak 1 where they didn't open the portal but stayed in Jak 1's time. So, I think that would be interesting, but like... So, when it comes to the Jak series, right? Jak 1 did what Nintendo and Rare were doing in the 90s, but in the next gen. And I think Jak 1 perfected the formula they were trying to go for, right? And if Jak 2 stayed the course of a collectathon platformer, I really don't think the Jak series would have done very well after the first game. Because, like, not only was the market moving forward, but, like, platformers were stagnating. Like, you needed to change up the formula a bit. Jak 1 perfected the collectathon genre, and if they just went and did another collectathon, I think the series would have just fucking... not necessarily died, but I don't think it would have been as memorable. So, I'm super glad they did what they did with Jak 2, and I really, really respect the game for what it did. But in terms of, like if Naughty Dog did another collectathon, it would have been interesting. Especially with where they could have taken Jak's world building, I think would have been interesting. But ultimately, I am really glad they did what they did with Jak 2. I think Jak 2 wraps up the story perfectly. Jak 3 kind of ruins its nice closure. I agree and disagree. So I think if Naughty Dog ended the series at Jak 2, I think it would have been perfectly fine. That being said, we'd all be sooks for a Jak 3 like we are sooks now for a Jak 4. But I do think if Jak 2 was the last game, I do think they wouldn't have been able to capitalize on what they could have done with the series, but I do agree that they could have ended the series at Jak 2 because it had a very nice ending, but it did leave things open, totally. It did leave things open for expansion. Jak 3, like, again, it just had the potential to do terrific stuff. It could have been... it makes me so sad because, like, Jak 3 could have been the absolute best game in the series. It could have been the absolute best. And, like, nostalgia aside, if Jak 3 did things right, it would just be my favorite straight up. Because, like, the ideas are perfect. The ideas are there. The concepts are there. It's just the execution, man. It's just the execution. Like, I want to make a whole video on, like, how I would redo it. Like, I'm going to make a video on, like, how I would remake the trilogy today. And Jak 3 is going to be, like, a whole big section of its own. New eco powers, good bosses, and platforming, nice graphics. I mean, yeah, like, we totally could have, like, done another Jak and Daxter style game. It would have been interesting for sure, but at the time, I am glad they did what they did. But, like, if we were to get a remake of Jak 1, we could get that, you know? We could, because the way I'd remake Jak 1 is have it exactly the same as it is now, like, remake everything, but just add a fuck ton more. So, like, maybe after getting 101 power cells and beating the final boss, like, a second half of the game opens up, something like that. Or maybe, like, the game is just doubled in length, like, they add more levels in between, before the final boss. Maybe there's 200 power cells, you know? And yeah, for sure, more boss fights. You know what? That's probably how I would do it. Double Jak 1's length by just adding more levels in the middle of the game. Like, we missed out on the entire 4th hub world, you know? Like, we didn't get the Yellow Sage's village. Like, we were going to, but they just ran out of time. I love this mission, but it sucks because the frame rate sucks. But yeah, I think that's how I would remake Jak 1. Pretty much, yeah, just double the length. And just add so much more. Yeah, I don't really think they'd add stuff or cut stuff back in, maybe some cheats and secrets too. Well, when it comes to like remaking the series today, if they were to do it, I do think they would take the safe route of like, you know, Crash and Spyro. But honestly, like if we are to get a Jak remake today, it needs to like be something wholly unique. It needs to be a new entity, like, you know, a completely new stuff, new content has to happen. Because like Jak 1 and 2, they're fine as they are, like tweaks here and there for sure, but like Jak 3 needs massive changes. But like if you're gonna remake Jak 1 and 2 faithfully and then completely alter Jak 3, like it doesn't really make sense. So if we're gonna remake the series, Jak 3 being altered is a necessity. So if we're going to remake Jak 3 differently, Jak 1 and 2 have to follow suit. And there's so many ways we can do it well, like to make them better than the originals, you know? Like so many ways. Yeah, in hindsight, Jak 1 is a very short game, even going for 100%. I can 100% Jak 1 in like 5 hours or so. And that's like a casual playthrough, you know? Like just casually playing through it, it took me maybe 5 hours to get 100%. Single run. Like a clean sweep of every level. You know what? Once you finish the game, maybe like ukulele style, broaden, like open up the level more, like more is added to each level. There's just so many things you can do with the Jak series to make it so much better, you know? Short but very fucking good. That is the thing though with Jak 1. Like it's a short game, but like it's such a tight package. So you're thinking more of a reboot than a remake? Kind of both, right? So we're rebooting the timeline, right? We're rebooting the series, like starting it again, but remaking the core ideas and mechanics of the games, right? Yeah, if there was ever a developer to pick up Jak IP, who do you think would do the series justice? See, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Everyone's saying like, oh, Insomniac should do a new Jak game, but like, no, they should not. Like, yes, they've made the Ratchet series, and the Ratchet series is great and all, but like, I don't think they'd be able to do Jak. No way. It's too unique. And Ratchet has been so cookie cutter for years. Like, yeah, they've been solid games. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're good games, but like, they don't take risks. And Jak is a very risky property. So like, it's hard, man. And I don't know a whole ton of developers, but honestly, when it comes to a new Jak game, I don't think anyone will be able to do it without input from fans like me, you know? Not to sound pretentious or anything like that, but seriously, if Jak is going to come back in the modern age, it needs the absolute hardcore fans to chip in on the project. Like, there's no way you can do it without them. Especially if we're going to do a reboot, like a remake, like the way I'm saying, right? Because there's so many tiny intricacies of lore and world building that most people just completely miss out on, you know? They would make Jak 2 childish and Jak is edgy 2000. Well, I mean, like, if they made Jak 1 more childish than he already is in Jak 1, that'd be a bit disappointing, but, like, not the end of the world. But if they made Jak childish in Jak 2 and 3, like, yeah, no. Like, they need to keep the edgy vibes of the 2000s. Like, that is integral to Jak's identity. Because, yeah, honestly, like if it was people like me, you, Keith, Nick, Michael even, like, got together and, where am I going? Oh, I gotta do the fucking gun course. But, like, just got together and discussed this stuff, like, thoroughly. Like, the thing is, though, like, when it comes to the Jak series, we've really got to look at it, like, super objectively. As much as we can, right? So, like, there's obviously very subjective things that go into the series. Like a massive thing for me is the world building. Massive. Like, I couldn't have Jak without the complex world building, right? But that's just me. Like, some people don't really give a shit. They just want the cool gameplay, you know? So, when it comes to looking at the objective stuff like gameplay balancing and plot holes and stuff like that, that's all stuff we can just discuss and fix. But when it comes to the subjective stuff, like, we need as many fans' input as possible. And there's no way in hell would be able to please everyone, because like the Jak series just means so many different things to so many different people. So like sometimes I hate loving this series so much because like it's so complex, you know. It's a product of its time, and that's the thing as well. Like I do think it's clearly, I wouldn't say a product of its time, I'd say it's clearly influenced of its time, but Jak 1 to me is like extremely timeless, but Jak 2 is obviously very influenced, I don't have any ammo, they're very influenced by the trends of the time and stuff like that, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Like we can bring it back, man, like, and it doesn't have to be like a wave of like, you know, oh, remember this, like how nostalgic, like it's, we're bringing it back sort of thing. Like we can just, and I also don't mean we need to adapt Jak for the modern era. I mean like there's totally a market for a Jak sort of game today, you know, like just a unique take on 3D platforming. True, I like the vibe of Jak 2 and 3. Exactly. Like Jak 1 sure is timeless, but like Jak 2 and 3 are totally unique. And there's nothing out there like them, so like that's why I love and respect them so much. But that's the thing though, like Jak is such a hard series to like pin down not only a core identity, not only like objectively and subjectively, like what the fans really love about the series, but also like how it would fit into a modern market, because like it's so hard. You know what? If we lived in a socialist society, we could just fucking make a Jak game and it wouldn't matter if it did well or not, because we'd just be doing it to make people happy, but capitalism fucks everything up. Yeah, what you're saying makes sense. It would be kind of hard to satisfy people if they changed the graphics in Jak games. Easier with Sly because the gameplay and story is really simple. Yeah, I agree. And with the Sly series, like, it wasn't, you know, subject to like the trends of the time, like the Jak series. Like Jak series is very obviously influenced by GTA and the other big games of the time, amalgamated to form its own identity, and that's what makes it unique. Whereas like the Sly series and the Ratchet series to a lesser extent, they are very much their own entities. So they'd be much easier to bring back into the modern era. That's why Ratchet is still in the modern era, like it hasn't stopped. Sly got a fourth game, as divisive as it was. I mean, I personally loved it, but I didn't really care much for the Sly story to begin with. But that was a while ago I played the series, so I'm not really sure. If I go back and watch Getstop's old videos, it makes super nostalgic to this day. It makes me sad that old Getstop we knew and loved is long gone. I have gone back and watched Getstop's videos a number of times, and for sure, super nostalgic. But looking back, in terms of like critical analysis, he's not exactly the best. But like, this was like a completely different era for YouTube. Like, yeah, there wasn't much critical analysis of anything on YouTube back in those days. So like, just having someone express their raw and honest thoughts on something, no matter how naive they were or like inconsistent they were, it was, you know, it was refreshing, especially with Getstop. Like he just fucking told it like it was, you know.
You can make it.
And yeah, they are super nostalgic. But in terms of like being a critical reviewer, I don't think it's very good. But like, it is nice just to hear someone's like, you know, passionate, genuine thoughts on something without, you know, super critical analysis sort of stuff. Like me and you have discussed this Martian before. Like, if they were to remake the Jak trilogy, like having the like actual original game unlockable in the remake would be fucking sick. Like they're only like a gig to 2 gigs each. That's like no space at all in modern games nowadays, you know. So like just having the original games playable in a remake would be great, because like it'd satisfy everyone, you know. Like we'd have a remake that, well, not everyone, but like it'd satisfy more people knowing that like if you don't like the remake, you've still got the originals, you know. Here's my pitch. They should make another Jak and Daxter, but a continuation from Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy. The first game was so epic, it would most definitely succeed. So I kind of touched into this earlier, Back in the day, if they made a sequel to Precursor Legacy in that style, I don't think it would have succeeded. Today, if they just straight up made a sequel to Precursor Legacy, ignoring the sequels, I just think it would piss off more people than it would please. That's why I'm saying, like, I know that a Precursor Legacy style Jak game would do great today. I know that for a fact. But that's why I've been saying, like, let's remake the trilogy, and we'll remake Precursor Legacy by doubling we'll double the runtime, double the content, you know? Just add more to it and make it a much more full experience, you know? And then because not only would that please the people who love the first game but wanted more of the first game, it'd please a new audience who are into those sorts of games, and that would lead them into the sequels, which they might not have even played or heard of or liked originally, but will be fixing the issues those games had, you know, and will be pleasing people like me who recognize the flaws, will be pleasing people who may not realize there are flaws in these games but would still, you know, appreciate you know, appreciate changes, you know. Two split timelines, one being platformer focused and the other being Jak 2. That's what I do. Might be overkill. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be overkill. In a series like Crash Bandicoot, where like continuity was already loose as fuck, split timelines not a problem. Jak and Daxter is very specific though, because it's very focused on Jak and Daxter, and like Jak 2 feeds right into Jak 1 with the whole time travel thing. Like if you wanna like go split timelines, you could just like do a remake timeline and an OG timeline, but like that would imply that they're both canon, which I don't think is necessary. Like just have two separate things, you know. But that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think there needs to be another Jak game, like another full Jak game in the style of Jak 1. I think just remaking Jak 1, and just adding more content to it would please like everyone, because everyone loves Jak 1. There are hardly any people who only love Jak 2 and 3 and don't love Jak 1, whereas there are plenty of people who only love Jak 1 and don't like Jak 2 and 3. Which is unfortunate, but that's just the reality of it. So I think remaking Jak 1 and then just adding a fuck ton more would please everyone, I think. I don't think anyone would be complaining. Because, you know, it's just more of the best game, you know? Just more. I mean, they'd have to remake a lot of systems, fix a lot of bugs, Jak 2 and 3, but Jak and Daxter only have to renew the graphics. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, we've been getting plenty of remasters, right, where they just take the base game and put it onto a new system with better graphics and stuff. Whereas I'm saying remake the games completely from the ground up, but add more and fix all the systems themselves. The core mechanics need fixing and balancing. That's not something that's like a patch could fix, you know. That's looking at the systems and the mechanics of the actual game and building them back up, you know. I mean, Jak and Daxter, like the first game, I don't think any of these games need, you know, just like a remake to look better with new graphics like the Crash and Spyro trilogies, you know. I think they look great as they are. It's the actual, like, the internal problems of the games that need addressing. Jak 1 hard mode, totally. I'd so be up for that. Like, there needs to be a hero mode for Jak 1. And that's another thing that'd be in the remake. Come on, guys. Again, I want an Ultra Nightmare run for Jak 2, so that's saying something. I'm gonna do an Ultra Nightmare run for Jak 2. Or they could do a huge DLC for Jak 1, because honestly I love the series, but Jak 2 and 3 seem totally different from the first one. So essentially, like, I don't know if any of you guys have played the Kingdom Hearts series, but what they would do with the mainline games is they release the game, and then like a year or so afterwards, they release what's called the final mix, which would add like a ton of extra content, fix some balancing issues. So like they'd add like a bunch of new bosses, new abilities and stuff like that, and bake it into the core game instead of like adding it just like afterwards, you know. And that's sort of what I'm wanting to do with Jak 1, but like to a much greater extreme. Like completely remake the game, but like add all the new content as the base game instead of like, hey, here's the original game, but like here's more stuff to do afterwards. Like doubling the content in the base game is what I'm wanting to do. Jak 2 and 3, like I don't really think they need more content. They just need, I mean, more content for sure, like more actual side missions and world building and stuff. But Jak 2 and 3 mainly need like balancing fixes, story fixes, and stuff like that. Edition wise, Jak 2 and 3 aren't super in need of it like Jak 1 is, but yeah. Yo, Power Cell Freak, there's a YouTube channel that's making a fan-made remake of Jak and Daxter in Unreal Engine. So far, the environment on their project is looking spectacular. Yeah, I've seen that. I follow them on Twitter. Yeah, super impressive for a fan remake. And a lot of people are saying like this should be the remake on PS5. But honestly, like it. Don't get me wrong, very impressive for a fan remake. Super impressive. But I think we need, you know, it's a one-to-one remake, which is sick. But Jak and Daxter doesn't need a one-to-one remake just to look better. You know, it needs a remake to make it better. You know, like add stuff. Yeah, it's a complex thing, man. And I don't mean to sound pretentious or anything, but I really think I'm kind of an authority when talking on this sort of subject, because like I've been doing nothing but playing these games my whole fucking life, you know. So I know them inside and out. I know the history of the series inside and out, you know. If they did a remake for Jak 1, would you want to see perhaps a new Sage or a new Eco? Not really. Like story-wise for Jak 1, I think it's fine. World building and lore-wise, I think it's fine. But what I would want to see is a Yellow Eco Sage hut, you know, and an area for the Yellow Eco Sage, because we were going to get that. Like Naughty Dog was going to do that, but they just ran out of time. We didn't get to. Still better than the Lost Frontier, am I right, guys? See, again, this is another one-off minigame mission that like no one cares about. Like, the controls aren't very good. They're very slippery. Like, you didn't need to do this. I mean, in context of story, it's cool. But I'm sure there's a cooler way we could have done this that could have made it more fun. Hot take, I love this mission. What power to you? But like, stuff like this I don't like. Just getting stuck and getting demolished. Also, not having a way to refill your ammo is kind of weird. I'm pretty sure you can't. I think one of the levels were underdeveloped as well, Snowy Mountain, I think. I guess I could see that. I mean, a lot of people theorize that the level was originally going to be a completely standalone flood level, which, I mean, maybe that was a thought, but like I don't see any evidence that would suggest that. There was supposed to be a Crystal Cave level in Hub 3. There's cut audio, the design Bible labels the rest. That's an example of that anyway. Yeah, totally, exactly. If by cut audio you mean like when Daxter's screaming like, you gotta grab the gems, then yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, like adding back levels that were cut from the design Bible, like totally on board with that. Because there were so many cool sounding levels that were cut from the design Bible. And like we needed more like unique levels. Because like a lot of Jak 1 levels were like typical collectathon levels, you know, like, oh, there's a snow level and a beach level and a forest level, you know. If we had more levels that were precursor focused, like Lost Precursor City, just more unique stuff, like Spider Cave to an extent, then yeah, just more cool stuff, totally. I think there was something about the 2 miners that was cut and not completed. I'm not really sure. Maybe. I don't really remember. Yeah, Wallet and Gordy was set up there as a replacement to the level. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that would have been really cool to have like a underground crystal level. Like sort of similar to like it'd be like a nice contrast to Spider Cave. Like Spider Cave's like all dark and gloomy and scary, but like a cave full of crystals and stuff would be like the opposite. It'd be like really cool looking and bright. Yeah, that would have been sick, and like in the same hub world too. I also think like they could have furthered more concepts. Because like, so in Jak 1 there isn't a whole lot of examples of like levels interconnecting and reacting with each other. Like there's obviously the blue eco event in the first hub that opens them in later areas, and the same with the yellow eco event, but it's just the exact same idea copied and pasted, you know, like it's never taken further. Like there's no other examples of levels interacting with each other, and that's kind of a shame. So like more of that, please, in a remake. I had the same idea as you, but I don't think they would make cartoony games anymore because they're a different crew. Yeah, I totally agree. There's no way Naughty Dog is going to make a new Jak and Daxter game, at least in the same vein as this one. I mean, as the originals. If they are going to do a new Jak game, it's definitely going to be a more grounded, mature game. Which, you know, I'm open for. I'm totally open for anything new Jak and Daxter. What the fuck happened? Like, no matter what it is, if it's something new Jak and Daxter, I will root for it. I'll have genuine concerns, and I will express those concerns, but anything new Jak and Daxter, I'm just need love. But, Martian, you've got it right on the fucking money right there. New team for the ground up. Absolutely. But, like, because, like, we can totally, like, us as fans, we could totally make our own Jak 4. I mean, I've fancied the idea plenty of times of just getting a bunch of people, bunch of fans together, skilled individuals, and just making a Jak 4 ourselves. I've fancied that idea so much, but like we need like a we need like Sony to like fund it, you know. We need backing, you know, not only from the budgetary perspective, but like to be an official Jak and Daxter produced game, you know. I would do an expansion on all the eco powers and add a new one. I think in terms of like utility, we could totally expand the eco powers in all the games. At least with Jak 1, we could expand the uses. I think Red Eco totally needs to be overhauled because it's fucking useless. But I don't think we really need to add more ecos, you know. I think just the 6 ecos is fine. I think it's perfect. Let's do it, bro. If they gave us permission, we'd definitely make a badass game. Yeah, we could, but like, yeah. We wouldn't be able to get permission for one thing. We wouldn't have the budget for another. But you know, yeah. It'd also suck because like, if we did it ourselves, we wouldn't have the joy of like experiencing a new Jak game ourselves, you know, because we'd be the ones who fucking made it. And like, it's kind of dumb to say, but it's true. And I think adding a new type of eco would I don't think adding a new type of eco would work. I think it's pretty set in stone that there are already 6 types. I completely agree. I think just the utility of the ecos is what needs to be looked at instead of adding more. That's the problem Jak 3 had. They just added more instead of fiddling with what they already had and making it better. Red Eco is defensive as a consequence. They should lean into that. Totally. That's a sacrifice people willing to make, yeah. I think just in general, Red Eco needs to be overhauled. Like Red Eco gives you like more strength, but like they could make that like more strength as in like your body strength as well. Like, you know, you'd be able to tank more damage. But like I said this in my Misty Island analysis video, like Red Eco just needs more fucking genuine uses outside of combat because it's just used in combat situations. It needs more level uses. Like if they made the bones in Misty Island only be able to knock over with the use of Red Eco, then that's perfect. That's like a simple use in the level that introduces the mechanic, and then you can just build upon it from there. I'll side with Jak and Daxter PS5 YouTube channel if their project gets accepted by Sony. By the way, why not side with them? I mean, if it got accepted by Sony, like, I would be like extremely surprised. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. As far as I can tell, it's only a one-person project. Like, I could be wrong, like totally correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's a one-person project. And yes, it is very impressive, but there's not really much like ambition to the project, you know? It's just a one-to-one remake. And that's not what the Jak series needs. Like, we don't need Jak and Daxter but with pretty graphics. Like, Crash like totally needed an update for the modern world, because Crash 1 played like arse and was very dated, whereas all the Jak games are still completely accessible to play. You know, like there's no real barrier to entry with the Jak series, like the Crash series was, because they were really dated games. Yeah, that's my opinion on it. Like, I don't think the Jak series needs just pretty graphics, you know? It needs to be something worthwhile. Also, another problem with this game is, like, when it comes to balancing issues and stuff, like, if you use a gun like that and you shoot an enemy with it, like, that enemy literally just drops ammo for the gun you're using. Like, look at this, I'm shooting with the Vulcan, I'm getting Vulcan ammo. So, like, there's no incentive to ever change guns. It's fucking dumb. The guy who owns the Jak and Daxter PS5 YouTube channel is an environmental artist. They also have an animator, GUI designer, and a programmer. Okay. Well, either way, yes, a very awesome project, very impressive. But, like, as an official, like, Jak and Daxter product, like, in the modern era, it's just not what we need. And I know a lot of people are, like, really clinging to, like, this idea, like, you know, Jak 1, but with, like, better graphics, and these guys could be the ones that do it for us, but I'm sorry, I'm just really not on that bandwagon. It's not what the series needs. What sucks is that the Jak fan base isn't big enough for Naughty Dog to put in the time and effort. Yeah, exactly. For another game or a remake. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, not only is Naughty Dog not going to do it, like, the fan base just isn't big enough to justify it in the first place. Like, no matter what studio. They also plan to ask Sony, after the project gets accepted, if they could buy the rights. They're aiming to make the trilogy, then make the fourth game. So, like, again, that's ambitious as hell, but, like, I don't see it happening. I do not see Sony selling the rights to the Jak IP at all. Not in a million years. At least not to a bunch of fans. I don't think they'd be able to afford it, to be honest. Like, it's made Sony a lot of money, and, like, it has potential to make them a lot more money. Like, in the future, if they were to do a new game. Like, let's be real, we are going to get a new Jak game one day. Don't know when, don't know in what form, remake, fourth game, reboot, we don't know. Jak and Daxter will return, undoubtedly. I don't think this team is going to be able to buy the rights. No way. But I do strongly believe that it can be another game. Someone would just have to make it worth it, and it has to be someone who knows how to make a lot of money. And then there goes the rooster. So, like... when I say, like, I don't think Sony would sell the rights, what I mean by that is, like, selling the rights means Sony no longer has anything to do with Jak. Not going to happen. That'll never happen. Lending the rights, like giving a studio permission to make a game, sure, they could do that. I don't think it'll be a fan project, though, that'll happen. Yeah. I don't think Sony would ever sell the rights outright. That's never going to happen. But when it comes to, like, if a studio really, really wanted to make a game and it was promising, sure, totally, they could do it. But they wouldn't sell the rights to the studio, you know. PS6 earliest. Is that easiest or earliest? Honestly, I think that's a bit. What's the word? The opposite of optimistic. Pessimistic. I think we will get that one before PS6. Well, not like necessarily a new game in the series, just something new. I'm sorry about that rooster, guys. Please just ignore it. It likes to go off whenever he wants. Now it's forgotten, I believe. That's fair. That's fair. I disagree. I do think we will get something new one day, but I can see why you've come to that conclusion. The new Crash game did well, so that might open up some eyes. Bigger chance of a new Jak or Sly game. That is a good point. Like, people, the reason the Crash came back is because people, like the people who grew up with Crash in the 90s, were getting nostalgic over it. So they brought it back, and it's going to be the same with the PS2 era. of platformers, you know? Like, Jak's 20th anniversary is coming up pretty soon. Yeah, I think I meant lending. Oh, okay, fair enough. Because, yeah, I don't think Sony would ever sell their ads. Lending, maybe. I don't think it's completely impossible that this fan studio will get rights to make a game. Like, Sony lends them the rights. I don't think it's very likely, though, because they're just a fan studio, you know? And Sony would want something done on their terms. But who knows? I could be wrong. I don't think a studio exists for it yet. Yeah, me too. That's the problem. Like Martian Blobfish said, I think a studio built from the ground up to make a new Jak game is what's absolutely necessary. If someone offered Sony $500 million to buy the rights, would they do it? Would they change their mind? See, like, I don't know how much the Jak series has made for Sony. I think it would be more than that, to be honest. Actually, you know what? $500 million is a lot of money. So let's think about it. So the series has sold around 12 million units, right? Across PS1, across the PS2 and PS3 versions of the games, right? Around 12 million. Like, whoa! You guys saw that, right? Around 12 million copies of all the games, right? Not including the PS4 or Vita versions, because I don't have the numbers for those. Not only that, but the limited run games versions came out and fucking sold within seconds, you know? $500 million is maybe a little much, but Jak is one of Sony's mascots, so I don't think they'd sell him to anyone. Exactly, that's the thing. Like, Sony, I mean, the Jak series isn't like a series like Twisted Metal or fucking Parappa the Rapper or something, you know? The Jak series isn't a forgotten PS1 series that saw moderate success back in the day and only had like 1 or 2 games. The Jak series is a fucking AAA heavy hitter back in the day. And still has potential to be a AAA heavy hitter. So I really don't think no matter what amount of money someone offers Sony, they're going to sell it, because they know they can make more than that making their own product. They just haven't, because their focus lies elsewhere at the moment. But that's what I'm saying. I really think a new Jak game is destined to happen. I want a new Jak X game. Oh fuck yeah, dude! Like, I didn't realize there was such an outspoken group of people dying for a Jak X 2. Like, I love Jak X, a lot of us do, but like, I didn't know there was so many people like that passionate about it. Also, remake notes for Jak 2 and 3, 2 rail shooter minigames at most, each. 2. No more. Less, hopefully. No one likes them.